Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Dark Souls Remastered playthrough. This one with the subtitle, The Manosphere. Some people don't like that terminology. Quite frankly, I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me either way. We are going to have our classic, if I can spell it correctly. Oh my goodness. There we go, okay. So I'm trying to type with the keyboard underneath the keyboard tray top, so it was hard to get to. That's gonna be my excuse for that. We're gonna go with the something with a dexterity build. How about that? I told you that we might go with a Kieran playthrough, but you know what, guys? There aren't really any options I could find that would make it a decent way to get those items. I did not defeat Kieran in the first playthrough, unfortunately, so I didn't have her items. And there's no save game editor or way to edit those items into the game that doesn't create a significant risk of being banned. So there were some mule saved files that had those items on them, but I didn't want to run the risk of playing online and getting banned. Just not worth it for a one-time playthrough. Right, guys? Alright, we're going to skip all of the cutscenes, as we usually do. So, for those that don't know, I am Fox with FoxeoGames. This is episode 1 of the Manosphere Dark Souls Remastered playthrough. What is the Manosphere? Well, quite simply, the Manosphere is a term that's been adopted to refer to the mostly online, though not exclusively online, mostly online community of modern men who are trying to sort of reinvent masculinity. Even if that does mean going back to older traditional views of it in some ways, or having newer, more modern views of it in other ways. When it comes to the Manosphere, there is no universal agreement on exactly what constitutes masculinity, what men should be and could be, relationships, dating, marriage, children, and all that good stuff. I'm going to take a sip of this black coffee. Dark, black, and hot. All right. I like my coffee the same way I like my women. Hot. Were you expecting something else? I've done that joke before. You've all heard it before, I'm sure. So, not entirely sure all the weapons and armor we're going to pick, but at some point here, we'll probably grab Kieran's set. I'd like to do an entire playthrough with it, but that may not happen, so we'll see. Come on, shoot me, bro. Don't shoot me, bro. Let's go up there and grab our item. Oops. And booyah. Backstabbeth. I thought that was a rather clever name when I was playing World of Warcraft. There was a guy who named his rogue. I think that was the name of the character class in WoW. I can't remember. Rogue, thief, whatever it was. He named him Backstabbeth. Gotta admit, it's pretty clever, isn't it? We're gonna open this up, just because we can, and get to our discussion of the Manosphere. As always, a lot of things tie together, so it's hard to talk about one thing without belaboring the point, and then getting into another thing, or having a tangential conversation about something else, and he was going to die anyway, so don't worry about it, guys. It's all okay. If you just run in and kill him, you will automatically get the items that normally he would have given you. In case you didn't know. And that, my friends, is a parry. I should have microwaved this coffee a little more. I know, microwave coffee, but I freshly brewed it earlier. Kept it around in the French press and microwaved it for this playthrough. Woo. Oh, come on. Really? Why I gotta get stuck in there? Bouncing off walls. Today's topic is going to be about the Manosphere, obviously. Not hating women. So, one of the things that people get accused of in the Manosphere, and we discussed in the last playthrough we did of Dark Souls Remastered, we touched on it lightly, was the idea that some people see the Manosphere as hating women. And to some extent, that's partially true. in small segments. Like the MGTOW segment can tend to sometimes be like woman-hating. Some of the men's rights activists can see their problems as being born from women, so women are the source of the problems. I think most people in the Manosphere would agree that we can't really blame women for our problems and get anywhere with that. It's not gonna solve them. It's not gonna make anything better. It's not a progressive mindset to have in terms of progressing, not in terms of like liberal American politics. So blaming women, saying that they're at fault and the reason for everything is them, and they're bad and they're terrible isn't going to get us anywhere, obviously. So instead of doing that, why don't we acknowledge what our modern situation is here, what things have come to, which is not good for men at all. There are some things that aren't good for women, but it's clearly, in terms of what we do with the law, family law system, divorce, custody, child support, alimony, in terms of relationships and what people tell people in social conventions and constructs, it is all very, very, very much centered around supporting and helping women and benefiting women, not benefiting men. There's no benefit to men to tell men to stand up, be a man, and, you know, settle down with a woman. But, you know, if you get her pregnant, you know, you got to sit down and do the right thing, settle down with her, marry her. Or if this happens, you got to do the right thing. You know, men are told to man up and do the right thing. This generally isn't told to women. Women aren't told, well, you better woman up and do the right thing. Even if the woman up comment sounds silly, but very few people will tell a woman, hey, you better straighten up and do the right thing. Treat that man right. Do the right thing. Marry that man. Do the right thing. Take care of that man. Do the right thing. Get a job and take care of your man. We don't say this for the most part. I mean, I've never heard it. It's certainly not a common theme in movies or TV shows. But it is a common theme in movies and TV shows, media, and in real life for men. Men are told that they have the responsibility to do and to act. And what must they do and how must they act? They must do things to benefit women, and they must act in the best interests of women. You know, you don't hear people say, you must never hit a man. They don't tell women, you must never hit a man. But we tell men, you must never hit a woman. And even some of you out there are thinking like, yeah, Fox, obviously, man, if you're a man, you shouldn't be hitting women. And of course, I agree that as a general rule, you shouldn't hit anybody without a pressing need to do so. I mean, there's got to be a significant reason you're going to hit somebody, right? And that's hitting them for fun, I hope, right? That's not cool. But the thing to look at here is it's not about any one particular thing I'm talking about. It's not any one particular example, because you can always think about exceptions to examples. So I don't want you to get caught up in any one particular example. Don't get caught up going, well, actually, Fox, my cousin, blah, 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 or my best friend, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, general rules apply generally. They don't apply universally. That's why when you have your one exception to the rule, it's still a rule, and that's an exception to the rule. That's the thing about exceptions to a rule. You can't have an exception to a rule unless you have a rule to begin with. There is no rule that women must take care of men and work hard and pay for the family and make sure he's taken care of and never hit men. Those aren't rules. But they are rules in the converse for men. Men must never hit a woman. Men must make sure that to take care of the woman, to treat her right, to pay for her, and to pay for the family and take care of the family. Gosh darn it. Okay, let me see if I can avoid dying right here. It's not really that important if I die, but I'd rather not. In fact, let's go ahead and do our suicide run. How about that? We call it the suicide run because we're going to go down here and grab an item and just let the character die at that point. It's not going to matter. We're going to get a Firekeeper's Soul and boost our Estus right from the very beginning. So the Manosphere is generally men who are recognizing what the situation is and deciding, you know what? We don't have to live according to all these conventional rules. Most of them are social. Some of them are actual law. Like most states have a law that outside of marriage, a woman has 100% authority over her children and the man has 0% authority or custody over his children. And of course, nobody questions this. I mean, obviously, if we had a 100% rights for men and 0% rights for women scenario, women would be crying up a storm about it, and it would be changed because we wouldn't tolerate that kind of sexist, inappropriate stuff. But here, of course, we tolerate any situation in which men are at a disadvantage because it's just seen as, well, you better man up and deal with it. So we like to give women 100% control over birth, custody, parenting, over reproduction. This is almost seen as normal. And in fact, many women would be offended. Oh, that coffee's already getting warm and not hot. Many women would be offended at the very notion that they shouldn't have 100% control over reproduction. Does it matter that it takes two to have a child? It takes a man and a woman to conceive? Nope. Woman has 100% rights. That woman can decide to have an abortion, and he has nothing he can say about it. Nothing at all. He has 0% rights, or 0%, yeah. 0 rights whatsoever. She can decide, you know what, to have the baby, take the baby to full term, give birth, and then he can be forced to pay child support, whether he wants that child or not. Once again, he has 0 rights whatsoever. She can decide to, in many cases, she can decide to have the child, but give the child up for adoption. And the father of the child, in some cases, has to fight for the right to get his own child, even if the mother doesn't want him or her. The mother's saying, I don't want this child, I'm going to give this child up for adoption. The father can say, I'm the biological father of this child. He could be on the birth certificate. They could have parenting, DNA test, a paternity test. They could have all of that in place. And in many cases, they will make the father apply for custody of the child like he's applying to adopt his own child. All right, let's get this party started. I'm sure there's some other items I could go grab somewhere. Maybe, but whatever. I think we got what we need. I don't like this weapon in particular. It is a dexterity weapon. We don't have what we need for... Wait, do we? Do we have the base stats to use this? Yes, we do. The S-Stock. The S-Stock's not a bad weapon. The winged spear. We don't quite have the stats for it, but we can two-hand it. Let's do that. Let's see how this works. So... Oh, and I forgot what I was about to say here. Oh, yeah, the custody and all that. Men. Well, there's a big difference between men and women when it comes to custody and children and child raising and all that jazz. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, am I fat rolling? There we go. Men often have to prove that they're a fit parent. It is not assumed. Men have to prove it. Men have to establish it. Even in court, even if a married couple is getting a divorce and the child is several years old, oftentimes the men it's just assumed that the man has to prove that he's a capable parent. The woman is assumed to be a capable mother. She's just assumed. Nobody expects the woman to prove that she's a fit mother, that she's a fit parent. The only thing that could happen there is you could present evidence that she's not fit. But by default, women are just assumed to be fit parents. And by default, men are assumed to have to prove their fitness, even by judges and by guardian ad litems and whatever you might have in your state. Different states handle it differently if you're in the U.S. or if you're in another country, you may have a totally different situation there. So you can see a lot of the assumptions we make are not necessarily written into law. There's nothing written into law that says that a woman is a fit parent and a man has to prove it. That's not a law, but that's just typically how we operate. And what's sad is that these become such standardized social conventions that oftentimes men perpetuate their own inequality. Men do things to contribute to these misguided beliefs, misguided assumptions about men and women. Men often think and say, well, yeah, the women should take care of the kids. It makes more sense for the woman to stay at home because, she's just better with child raising. And of course, every single story we hear about a woman killing her children, driving them into a lake and drowning them all, or drowning them in the bathtub, or leaving them to die of starvation while they go out and get high again, or every story we hear to us is an exception to the rule. Well, that's her not acting like herself because women are such great mothers. They're just great parents. And then every story we hear about, a father who screws up or does something terrible, kills his own children or leaves them or whatnot. That's, because dads just aren't as good, right? That's kind of the assumptions that we make. Those are kind of the assumptions that we make. So that's a long, drawn out way of kind of bitching about it and making it seem like I'm saying, oh, woe is me, woe is men. But the point of the Manosphere, at least I hope the point of the Manosphere, it is for me and for most of the people that I follow or pay attention to, the point is not to simply bitch about it and say, oh, it's so unfair, but is to do something about it. Now, a lot of people in the Manosphere want you to just sort of handle it as best you can, do what you can to protect yourself and leave it at that, try to make it more intelligent decisions on your own. Whereas I would like to see us make a more concerted effort to get laws changed. One of the biggest laws to get changed is default assumed 50-50 custody in any custody battle. Apart from obvious and significant evidence to the contrary, I believe both mother and father there should be an assumption that both mother and father should share custody of a child. Neither party should have to prove their fitness as a parent. That just should be assumed. And to me, that seems natural. You shouldn't assume somebody's an unfit parent and that they have to prove themselves. They had that child, that's their child, that should be just a natural right to a child. You should have a natural right to your own child. You shouldn't have to prove it. You shouldn't have to start with the assumption that you don't have a right. It's kind of like free speech. It's assumed you have the right to free speech. We don't ask you to prove that you have something valuable to say first. We just don't do that. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to kick him like that. All right. But the kick is not the most reliable of attacks. The winged spear is actually a good spear. It wouldn't be a bad spear to take to end game even. Battle axe? Nope. We may end up changing up how we do this as we press onward in this game. We'll see. Oh, I don't think I need the key from this guy. We won't get anything right now. We'll just leave it at that. So I think the law should be written in such a way where a judge should, by default, award both parents 50-50 custody. And in some states, there is no such thing as 50-50. One has to be the primary parent, or one has to have primary custody. By default, there should be a 50-50 arrangement, unless the two parties agree otherwise. So if the mother and the father separately agree before going into court that dad is gonna have primary custody, like 75%, because mom is super busy being, hotshot celebrity lawyer or whatever, that's fine. Or if they both agree that mom gets the kids 80% of the time and dad just wants them 20% of the time because he's very busy, with his company. I mean, that's, I don't think that's the best choice, but I think they should be able to make those choices amongst themselves. I would have something to say about a man only spending 20% or only having 20% custody, but at the end of the day, I believe very strongly that men and women should direct their own lives to the extent that, possible. Or the alternative to that is the judge sees a compelling reason to rule otherwise. And I don't think compelling reason is, well, mom's been primarily taking care of the kids and dad's been at work. No, that's not a compelling reason in my opinion. I think a compelling reason is, well, mom's addicted to heroin and she did leave the kids alone in the car in 85-degree weather for an hour while she went and got high with her boyfriend. Things like that, Mom has been denying the father access and alienating him from his own children. So, and she's been refusing to do custody exchanges. So she clearly is not willing to cooperate, so she should only have supervised visitation where she can't just take the kids and run. Or, they can prove, dad has been extremely abusive, like he beats the kids very severely and doesn't feed them or something like that. Apart from a scenario like that, I think it should be 50-50 custody. And if the judge rules in anything other than 50-50 custody and against the wishes of either parent, the judge should have to do a complete write-up giving their basis for the decision. So he or she would have to write up why he forced the parents to deviate from the 50-50 arrangement they wanted. And by they, I mean if either parent wants 50% custody, that means the parents want 50% custody. Oh, shoot. Did you just see that? The spear is an excellent weapon, I will say that. It's not perfect. I like the partisan. If I'm going to go with a spear for this playthrough, it's definitely going to be the partisan. The partisan has this very lovely swipe that is just beautiful. And I should have put points into strength so I could one-hand this thing. I used to think that being able to attack from behind a shield was a super useful feature. I realize now, after having more experience with the game, it's not nearly as useful as you think. Oops, sorry, I just bumped my microphone here. You're probably going to hear that. So, again, the idea is to give both parents equal footing. Do we have that in most states? No. Do we have that in some states? Yes, it's great. I think the Manosphere should focus more on trying to get laws changed. Another law I believe in very strongly, and I think this should go both ways 100%, is that there should be no such thing as alimony or palimony. I think palimony is like an alimony when the couple wasn't legally married. I'm sorry, but if you're legally married to somebody, and the two of you, or just living together for a long time, if the two of you, for whatever reason, decide to split up, whether it's a mutual agreement, whether it's one person agreeing, or one person decided to leave or the other, whether one person cheated and the one person wants to leave because they cheated, it doesn't matter. If you're going to split up, I'm sorry, but you don't owe the other person anything. You don't. You really don't. I mean, if we live in a world of equality here, if men and women are equal, why are men paying for women after they're divorced? I mean, are we saying that women can't take care of themselves? To me, that's kind of pathetic. I mean, it seems to me like any woman just collecting money from a man for alimony is admitting that she's unable to take care of herself and she needs a man to take care of her. No man should be forced to do that. No woman should be forced to take care of a man. I mean, it's kind of an absurd notion that you divorce somebody and now you just got to pay them money every month just to pay them money so that they have more money in their life. Of course, that's absurd. It's a ridiculous notion. Shouldn't exist anywhere, much less should it be in law. I would outlaw all alimony and all palimony for all reasons. It's just not your responsibility to take care of an ex. It's not. Never has been, never should be. I think it's completely unethical and immoral to do it. And I think if it's offered to you in a divorce, whether you're a man or a woman, you should decline it. And that really is the test of true morals and true ethics. Do you have real standards for yourself? Because would you be willing to show how much you believe in equality by taking care of yourself, even when you have the opportunity to get money out of an ex-spouse that you likely are not the best of friends with at the moment? Let's be honest, a lot of marriages end in less than amicable ways. So usually I've found, and my job allows me to see a lot of couples that are in the split up phase at various points, whether they're just splitting up, been split up for a while. I have found that in the vast, vast majority of cases, either both of them are unreasonable and hate each other, and they're just both bad actors, they both act poorly, or one is reasonable and very level-headed, and the other is very unreasonable and angry and bitter and wants revenge, and it's that one person that just ruins it. Where it could be a very amicable, easy split. They just share custody of the children, they talk about, parenting issues, they're kind to one another, but instead you run into this thing where one of them just has to be a total terrible human being. And that's unfortunate, but that's what I've found to be the case. What in the world? Okay, I'm stuck in a corner here. This is not good. Okay. There you go. Can't remember the last time I died to the Taurus demon. Yeah, it's just sad when you have one party that can't get over it. One party that's stuck on the relationship, just can't let it go. It's sad. It is pathetic as well, but it is really, really common. This may be more difficult than I thought. I'm very reliant on shields, and it's really thrown me off how bad the hit detection can be at times in this game, especially with like elevation up there. You saw the weapon kind of just floats through enemies. Okay, let's try this again. What the heck? Oh, the door's already open. That's right. There we go. The controls, little laggy at times, I've noticed. Kind of frustrating. Wish they'd fix that as well. The controls on this game could be tightened up. Oh, and that was a plunging attack? Alright. Yeah, little wonky at times. Little janky. It's easy to play Dark Souls 3 and come back to Dark Souls and forget that this game was a little janky at times, wasn't it? There we go. And this time we might want to use some gold pine resin. Knock that boss out a little easier that way. So, relationships, guys. The faithfulness aspect. I don't know if we hit on this last time. If we didn't, well, here we're going to hit on it now. But when it comes to faithfulness, there's an interesting dynamic in modern society. We all start with the assumption that we're going to have this really clean, traditional notion of a relationship, whether it's a marriage or not. The idea is that the man and the woman dedicate themselves to each other. They work for each other's best interest and the best interest of the relationship. And if for any reason things don't work out, they split up amicably and blah, blah, blah. You know, it doesn't usually work out that way. And the idea behind it, of course, is that you wouldn't dare consider going outside the relationship, right? You stick with that one person and you're dedicated to him or her. And I think we're finding out that to a greater extent than we ever imagined, that really doesn't happen all that much. According to whatever statistics you look at, cheating, however you define it, and I think that the easiest way to define it that most people would agree with is actually going out and having sex with someone else when you're in a relationship that the two of you agree is exclusive. Most people would agree that's cheating. Oh, shoot. Let me try that again. Okay, well, I'm glad I missed it because I actually want to do this. Okay. Nope, not that. This. Okay. Hello? Okay, there we go. Felt like I had to go a little farther out there than usual. Let's do it. Wish you could run up the ladders in the remastered version. I was kind of expecting that, but Here we go. Yep, that does significantly more damage. Oh, darn it. That jump back really threw me off. Okay, let's see if we can get him. Yep, there we go. Got him. Okay. I knew if I could stagger him once, I'd have him. Victory achieved with gold pine resin. Good stuff, good stuff. My last playthrough, I skipped right by this little item here. Nobody mentioned it. I mentioned it later in the playthrough. Okay, and here is Solaire with those really crappy cloud textures in the background. Come on, blah, 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 blah. Yes, blah, 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 blah. Yes, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you. All right, Taurus Demon down. Let's trigger the Hellkite Drake, who breathes fire. Do drakes breathe fire? or lightning for that matter. Let it burn. I remember the one thing that fire used to burn really good was your frame rate on the consoles. And your frame rate in the Prepare to Die edition because it was so poorly programmed. Not optimized at all, you could say. In fact, it's almost like they intentionally made it unoptimized. Kick that thing. Let's do this, actually. Let's get a little bit of strength. What do we need to... Let me try it. Oh my goodness. Let me try that again. We need 13. Well, and there we go. Oh my goodness. So many levels. So much levels. So much levels is... So we talked about, in I think the final episode of the Dark Souls Remastered playthrough that was just called Dark Souls, Fox Plays Dark Souls Remastered. I think it was episode 17, the finale. We talked about dating multiple women. And in Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male, he refers to this, he calls it spinning plates. I'm not such a big fan of that, but that is the terminology. It's very commonly held terminology now. It's just kind of what people say. So I guess I'll use it because it's such a common term now. But the idea of spinning plates is, if you've ever seen one of those guys who does this little like kind of circus act or whatever, where he's spinning a plate and he puts another plate on, spins it, another plate, and he's holding on to all these devices to spin all these different plates and keeps them spinning. That's the idea. The idea of spinning plates is that, oh my gosh, these enemies have that sudden these sudden little jab attacks that really throw you off, you know. I thought there was a third one. Yep, there he is. Okay, we did it without getting poisoned. Nice. I don't normally take this route, but I like to take a few different routes. Excuse me, nowadays, as I get a sip of my coffee, my warm coffee, lukewarm. You know, I'd forgotten where this even went. So how do I get that path open down there? Why would you take this route? I mean, you want this open, you want the bonfire, right? Let's go back. Let's go back. Oh, you know, you would take this route if you didn't know how to get around the Hellkite Drake. But the reward for getting around the Hellkite Drake is a bonfire right there. And you don't have to sneak by those poison rats each and every time. So the notion here, guys, is you don't need to be faithful to a girl that you're dating. You just need to make sure that she's aware you're not dating her exclusively. So I definitely would say it would be pretty lame to date a girl and make her think you guys are exclusive if you're not. But it's fine as long as you haven't made that exclusive to just go ahead and date as many women as you can. I compared it to shopping around for a car. You don't go to one dealership that sells one manufacturer's car and look at one car and then grab it and roll. I think most people would agree that would be a bad idea. Unless you have already done all the research and know exactly what you want. No, don't do that. But even then, you want to give it a test drive. And, you know, the notion of calling it dating a test drive, but that's kind of what it is. So you want to test drive as many women as possible, so to speak. Yeah, that does sound bad, doesn't it? Whatever, we'll roll with it. Because it gives you a more broad understanding of what it is that you might want out of a woman, of all the different kinds of women that are out there, of the good and the bad that you can get from different women. So if you date a woman and she has, and a lot of women suffer from one of three different conditions, NPD, BPD, or the other BPD. So there's narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and bipolar disorder, which is just BD, I guess. Bipolar is really common. I think narcissistic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder overlap to a certain degree, so it's hard to tell sometimes what the difference is between them. They share a lot of traits in common, and even psychiatrists and psychologists agree that we don't quite know where one begins and the other ends. So it's possible to not really fully know how to diagnose someone with it, but you can see the traits. And when I say narcissistic personality disorder, guys, we are not talking about, oh, here's a person who thinks highly of themselves. No, that's a casual definition. Kind of like people will casually say, well, that guy's got bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is not changing your mind about what you want to eat multiple times, you know? Actual bipolar disorder is a much more serious issue. Serious condition. Not a casual, oh, this guy goes back and forth sometimes, or this woman goes back and forth with how she feels. Everyone does that to a certain degree. So, knowing that, I think it's interesting that some guys, their first experience with dating will be of a either narcissistic or borderline personality disorder or bipolar woman. And that's going to be a really, really awful experience because she's essentially going to take him through the ringer and he's not really going to understand what's going on unless he gets a lot of background information on it. A lot. So, and generally, men don't discover what those conditions are until it's too late. They're looking up information on those conditions because they've been screwed over by them. Most men don't look ahead. They're not preparing for it. So if you guys are out in the dating market, I would highly encourage you to do a lot of research on those three conditions: narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and bipolar disorder. I would strongly encourage you to look into those because the likelihood that you'll encounter a woman that has one of those conditions is very, very, very high the more women you date. So it's almost guaranteed that if you date more than a dozen women, you're probably going to encounter at least one that has it, if not more, that has one of those. Depending on the numbers, it can be up to half of women that suffer some level of one of those conditions. So be aware of them. I wasn't, and I got burned. So just know that, you know. Where's the guy that jumps out at you? Is he not there? Okay. Oh, he must have come up. Oh, that's the one that came up at me. Okay. Oh, no. The timing. If your timing is off with these guys, they can, you know, you think these guys aren't a threat until your timing is ever so slightly off, and then you realize, oh, holy crap, these guys can kill me. Especially when there's 3, 4, 5 of them. Or more. The mystery key. What does it go to? I don't know. It's a mystery. Actually, I'm trying to think of what it does go to. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Did you see him just jump at me? He didn't even give me a chance to recover from the ladder crawl. That's just not fair. Broken straight sword, if you want Artorias. I think that's for the Artorias weapon. What? I've been Gravelorded? In new game? Basic new game? I thought you had to be in New Game Plus to be Gravelorded. Has anything changed, ladies and gentlemen? If so, please let me know, because I genuinely believed you had to be in New Game Plus mode to get Gravelorded. Do we really want to do this? Do we want to risk everything? Yes, we do. Let's go get this guy. Y'all ready for this? Uh-oh. Barely did half the damage. Oh, well, no, come on. Here we go. And yes. Oh. Woo. Whoa, yeah. Give me something. Give me something. Nothing. Night shield, much better than what we got. That leather shield is 85%. Okay, 85 block. That's better than I thought it was. Hollow soldier shield, guys. Really good shield. Really good shield. Nothing doesn't look like anything special. Really doesn't, but it's actually a really good shield. It's almost as good as the Balder shield. So it's very basic. It doesn't have any other great defenses other than physical, but I mean that's mostly what you're gonna want anyway. So physical block. These guys trip you up with attacking from behind their shield. But you know what? Since I got a spear, I can do it too. Another one of those shields. Yeah, if you want a very nice 100% physical block shield with excellent stability early on, farm them till they drop it quite frequently, so it won't take long. The Balder shield is excellent as well. It's a really great shield. It's better than Hollow Soldier shield, I think, but it's much, much harder to get. So, yeah. These guys are much harder to farm at this point in the game. They're a lot trickier. You're a lot more likely to die from them. So that's the catch with that. And if you get their side sword, that's an excellent weapon. It's a dexterity-based sword. I've done at least 2 playthroughs with it, if not more than that. Oh, you know what? We are fat rolling. But that's okay. We're going to go get Havel soon. And then that'll take care of the fat rolling problem. And then we're going to change out this armor. I don't want this armor for endgame. Come here, buddy. Oh, what's that? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Come here. Come here. Come here. I got something for you. I desperately need to upgrade this, but I'm not going to, because we're going to make a run for the Partisan. Darn it. Was really hoping for a Titanite shard. I want Titanite shards right now. That's what I need. So my previous episodes were 45 minutes each. This time around, I'm going to go for 50 minutes each. So the goal is between 40 and 50 minutes. So if there's a good spot to stop, I'll do that. So again, it may be about 45 minutes, but somewhere between 40 and 50. How do you guys feel about playthrough episodes of an hour? Roundabouts of an hour. The goal would be anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour and 10, depending on what's going on in the game. And just in case we die and lose souls, let's grab some... Actually, before I forget to do it, let's do this real quick. We can kindle this bonfire since I have an extra soft humanity on me. Soft humanity is the number in the stock in the upper left corner. Soft humanity is how much humanity you have on your character that are not the items, not the item version. And that's, I think it's an unofficial term. I don't know if it's a FromSoft term. Soft humanity is the stock of humanity you lose every time you die and have to gain it back by picking up your bloodstain. And if you don't pick it up in time, uh-oh, you lose it. Let's learn that gesture. Okay, let's buy as many of these as we can. Okay, so now we have 3. That's good. And let's go get the Partisan. Let's see if we can get the Partisan during this playthrough. Or this episode, rather. Okay, excellent. I don't think he's going to get me now. We're good. And then eventually we want to go get the Havel's Ring so we can equip more good stuff. I think I might go with a medium armor on this playthrough. We'll see how I feel. I had low stamina there. I was waiting for my stamina to recover for each and every attack. Oh, I forgot there's a delay on that attack. Oh, by the way, you can actually jump down here, and depending on where you do it, you can safely land down there. That just takes you roundabouts headed towards up there. The wolf ring, which actually that's a really good ring. It's a really good ring. I used it in my last playthrough in place of the, what was it? In place of the Ring of Favor and Protection. I almost always use the FAP ring, as we call it, the FAP ring, because it's just such a good ring. And then because it breaks when you take it off, I end up getting stuck with it on because I don't want to take it off and lose it permanently. So I end up using it in almost every playthrough. So I think for me it'd be a good idea to not allow myself to use it after I find another ring. I might use it temporarily when I don't have another ring because you can get it so early on just by kicking Lautrec off the edge. So I think I'll use it until a better ring comes along. What I don't want to do is have the ring in my inventory and just not use it because when I have an empty ring slot available. We're not going to grab this item off to the side yet because that activates all those guys for future spawns. So we'll leave them as is for now. I like how the fog walls look in this remastered edition of the game. And I think the Elite Knight armor set is up there, so we will grab that because that is definitely an armor set I would like to have. Oh dear. We may be in trouble here. Oh, there he is. Okay. I thought he was going to hit us from behind while we were attacking that one dude. There we go. Now the partisan might require a little more strength. No. It just requires more dexterity. Okay. It's more on the wait. No, it's slightly less on the dex and more on the strength. Interesting. So watch this. I'm mostly going to two-hand this, but that's the basic R1. You know, that's what you'd expect, right? But watch the R2. It makes this spear special. It's a swipe attack. Very, very unique. No other spear like it. 1, 2, 3. Woo. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This might take a minute. If you guys want to go get some coffee or make yourself a tea. So, you don't have to be faithful to a woman if you guys haven't agreed to be exclusive. And my recommendation is, let her come to you when she's ready to be exclusive. Don't talk to her about it. I think it looks needy when men do it. I think it looks very normal and feminine when a woman does it. My current girlfriend, I kept my options open. I had quite a few girls. I actually had scheduled to date another girl that weekend, and then that didn't pan out. But I'd actually had another girl scheduled for the same weekend. Don't feel bad about it at all. It is not your job to make a girl feel good. I mean, you're not trying to make her feel bad. You're not purposely being a douchebag or a jerk. But if you're being the type of man you're supposed to be, then some men and many women should occasionally refer to you as a jerk. Just because when you live by your standards, you're going to make people upset. When you live in your frame for yourself, you're going to make some people upset. Some people want you to live for them. A lot of people want you to live for them, especially women. So keep that in mind. Guys, we are at 48 minutes almost. And this is a good spot to stop. Well, actually, should we run back to... Yeah, let's run back to this other bonfire so I don't leave myself confused as to what... No. What I actually should do is go get the wolf ring real quick. I'm still glad I ran back to the bonfire, though, because I needed to reset those enemies. I'd activated too many of them. They were going to chase the heck out of me. I want that wolf ring. It's a great ring. My 3 favorite rings in the game are the Ring of Favor and Protection, the Havel's ring, and the wolf ring. If I had to add a 4th, it would probably be the Chloranthy ring. So we may grab that in this playthrough as well, depending on how things go. If you're going for that dexterity type build, then the Chloranthy ring is probably a good idea. I'm going to run the risk of dying here, but I'm going to do this. I know there's going to be a statue forming behind me. I just got to keep rolling here and hope for the best. And we're going to try to get around this guy without killing him, because I don't think we're going to be able to kill him. It's going to be a giant pain in the butt trying to kill him. I made it. How do you like that, guys? Let's just ditch that for now and run back. Excuse me. We're going to make it to this bonfire back here, so I set myself up for the next episode. Sometimes it's a day or 2 or 3 before I play an episode, and I don't like to forget what I did. And I'm too lazy to watch the previous episode. That would be the smartest thing to do, I know, but I don't always do that. Okay, linger back just long enough for him to charge up a lightning. You don't want him to swat at you. He has incredible reach. And then let's do this. We're going to reinforce the partisan for now. So this is going to be our weapon that we use for the present time. And before we end the episode, let's... How many do we get for that? 800? Okay. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Doesn't matter. We'll reinforce it. Shoot. Oh. Buy one more of those and reinforce it one more time. Okay. We're sitting pretty now with a +3 partisan. That's pretty good for where we're at. I like to keep everything repaired just so I get it out of the way. That way I don't have to worry about repair stuff cluttering up my repair screen when I go to repair the weapons and armor that I'm currently using. I just repair them all. They're cheap. Repairing is cheap. And you know what else is cheap? Watching these episodes. Watching these episodes on YouTube. It's absolutely 100% free to you. There's a donation option on YouTube if you'd like to do that. You can also go to my Twitter and buy me a coffee, which is like, give me like $4 or $5, whatever. Something like that. I may not actually buy a coffee with it. I might spend it on something else. There is a Patreon, but heck, I haven't set it up since they've changed the rules, so I don't know if it's actually set up to take subscriptions right now. And I don't upload consistently enough to warrant you guys subscribing to me on Patreon anyway. But I'd love a donation. I mean, who wouldn't? It's free money. Free money for free episodes. Hey, I don't make you pay for it, right? So it's still free. I'm Fox with FoxeoGames. Guys, I hope you watch me next time. Follow me on Twitter and all the social media links down below in the video description. Make sure to maintain your frame. Keep things centered around what you need out of life. All that good stuff. I'm running out of things to say here. I'm just saying stuff now. I'm making this episode longer than it needs to be, with all sorts of catchphrases at the end. Maintain your frame. Be your own mental point of origin. Focus on yourself. Improve yourself. Increase your value. All that good stuff. Guys, I will see you in the next episode of Dark Souls Remastered, The Manosphere. This has been episode 1. I hope to see you again in episode 2. Later, guys.